my BUTs. Welcome to the Beauty Jawn. I am your host, Ursula Augustine, professional makeup artist and owner of Ursula's About Face Rittenhouse Makeup Studio. Now, for those of you who don't speak Philly, a Jawn is a noun. It's any and all things. And the Beauty Jawn is your monthly podcast for real talk about any and all things beauty. Not only am I your host for this podcast, but I'm also your personal cheerleader, encouraging all of you, who I affectionately refer to as my BUTs, to be you and to embrace your uniqueness. That's a daily affirmation I share each and every day with the clients that sit in my chair. So I'd like to take a moment right now to give them a big shout out and to thank them for being the inspiration for this podcast and for encouraging me to bring my brand of real talk beauty to the masses. As a licensed cosmetologist and 30-year beauty vet, I know firsthand that I work in the industry of smoke and mirrors. And now with the rise of social media, the smoke and mirrors have gotten worse. So I'll be cutting through the smoke to help navigate you through the house of mirrors to the real truth about beauty. On today's episode of The Beauty Jawn, I'll be discussing the social media filter effects on men. And later in the episode, we'll be joined by fashion stylist to the stars and social media influencer, Roman Mark Anthony Barksdale, to find out which filters, if any, he uses and get his thoughts on possibly being replaced by AI fashion stylists. So we have a lot to get to, so let's go. Today's Beauty Jawn is part 2 of social media and unrealistic beauty standards from the male perspective. In a win for gender equality, men are becoming increasingly subjected to the same societal pressures women have always faced. In part 1 of social media and unrealistic beauty standards, we focused on the effects of social media and face filter apps on women's self-esteem. Many people think that image dissatisfaction is primarily something women struggle with, yet many men struggle too. However, they are more likely to do so in silence. While some women feel the pressure to meet unrealistic beauty standards, some men are feeling the pressure to meet unrealistic standards of success, physical appearance, and lifestyle that's perpetuated on social media platforms. Research has consistently shown that exposure to ideal female images negatively influence women's self-esteem. However, minimum research has examined the effects of social media portrayed male images on men's self-esteem. Popular sharing platforms such as Instagram and TikTok have come under scrutiny in recent years for their potentially negative effects on men's mental health. A growing body of research suggests that excessive use of these platforms present a distorted and artificial version of masculinity, further fueling feelings of inadequacy, depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. So, what is the motivation behind how and or why men are using these photo editing apps? Well, as I found out while researching this topic, men are using these apps for all sorts of reasons, from getting six-pack abs to trying to find their swag. Earlier on, men were using photo editing apps like Facetune, despite the fact that it was initially marketed to women. But now, men have their own computer-generated image filters, known as CGI apps, with names like manly, macho, and handsome, to give themselves everything from CGI beards to tattoos and muscles. For some, it's just for laughs. It's hard to imagine anyone seriously giving themselves a CGI beard. For others, it's a way to bolster their chances on dating apps or address physical insecurities. According to Dr. Isabel Girard, a lecturer in digital media and society at Sheffield University, these apps are all related to physicality and strength and suggest the only kind of beautifying that men can do is really normative. A study published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior found that individuals who spent an excessive amount of time on social media reported higher levels of loneliness and social isolation. This can be particularly harmful to men who may already be vulnerable to mental health issues. So, What can be done about it? Well, here are some suggestions on how you guys can social media detox. Starting with the 3F's rule, which is first, focus on facts. Even though it can certainly feel like it, social media is not real life. Posts are designed to grab your attention, not be a reflection of life outside the app. Remind yourself of these facts if you start to feel anxious or depressed. Psychologists have suggested that men should reach out and talk to a friend. Ladies, stop it. I can hear that collective sigh from here. This sometimes for men is easier said than done. But they can set some boundaries around their usage. Track their time on the app, turn off push notifications, or even try moving social media apps off of the home screen and using platforms mindfully in order to protect their mental health and well-being. And last, but by no means least, know when you're struggling. If you've tried all of this and you still feel down and you're online and it's still making you feel some kind of way, don't get upset about it. You know, sometimes it's okay for you not to be able to kick the habit all at once. These things take time. In the meantime, there are plenty of male influencers and creators like Jago Sherman, who is advocating for and creating content around topics just for men, such as mental health and fitness, men's wellness, parenting, self-love, and self-expression that men can follow to make their experiences online more positive. Speaking of positive men and male influencers, this is the perfect segue to introduce today's special guest, who is a stylist to the stars, as well as a social media influencer in his own right, who will share his perspective on the male use of AI filters, and he'll also share his thoughts on possibly being replaced by AI fashion stylists. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce you all to Roman Mark Anthony Barksdale. Roman Mark Anthony Barksdale. Roman, welcome to the Beauty Jawn.
Good afternoon, Beauty Jawn. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Now, in our initial episode, we spoke with Charisse, supermodel and entrepreneur, about social media face filters and how they affect society in terms of the low self-esteem that a lot of the new generation is experiencing. Today, we took the men's perspective on all that. And like Charisse, AI is deep diving into the fashion industry at every level. Fashion models are being replaced, and now even fashion stylists. So as one of the top fashion stylists in the country, we wanted to get your perspective on this issue. So I want to ask you, do you think AI will replace you fashion stylists?
I don't think AI can replace anything. I think AI is I think it's a helper. I think that, but it can never really replace a person, because I think the whole thing of styling is a very personal interaction. AI, if you want to do like an art project, maybe it'll be something where you could see yourself in a picture with something else on, but real life is real life. And I think that, especially when it comes to freedom of expression, I think that artificial intelligence is its own beast. If you get it too much power, it'll just run itself. And then it takes us completely out of it in general. So, I mean, I think that it's a helper. I think that guess it serves a purpose in some way with certain cases. But I think on the broad scheme of things, I think that styling and fashion has always been a hands-on job.
I think you're right. And the one thing that I can say is I can't imagine having the same enthusiasm, the same fun, the same, energy with an AI styling tool compared to being styled by you, Roman.
It's like having like Siri style you. So it won't be, it'll be basically everything that she's learned from a um a history point of view in fashion. She would be able to categorize fashion trends and different things like that that may work. And I mean, that's just being a smart a smart machine. But I think that the technique of unconventionalism, where like a stylist can kind of outsmart the stylist AI by actually giving you something that is unexpected. I think that stuff like that in general is what an artist is. An artist is very unexpected by nature. So I think that when technology can hone in and be very successful in duplicating, but I think that the archetypes of fashion has always been human. So I think that as time goes on, it'll constantly be like a push and pull between something creative, but once AI gets hold of it, it'll know exactly how to categorize it in any way possible, because we live in a time where everything has to be in a box, but being a good stylist, whatever that is, but I think that it's good to be able to always keep an open mind on just how you come across and present. And I think that AI can't mentally get into your brain and kind of give you that like enthusiasm or that confidence to, or that bravado to be this fabulous creation is what I see, because that's how I style.
I absolutely agree with you. And when I tell you that is the main thing that's missing, I feel your energy in the studio, and I've, full disclosure, have been fortunate enough to work on fashion shoots with Roman. And once I know he's the stylist, like the energy just goes on 10. And I really don't think there's any way that AI could ever replicate that human energy. That it just can't. You need it to bounce off of another human for it to succeed. And like you were saying, it's all about creativity. And that's the one thing AI can't do. It cannot create.
And it also makes me wonder, by it being AI, like how actually technical could that be? Like, if you're at a photo shoot, it has to be some type of human body to initiate everything, because if it's mechanical or it's on a screen, it makes me always wonder, like, what comes in, because I work hands on with people tailoring, and I'm like, it would have to be kind of like a robotic type of way. That's the only way I can see it going forward in the future, because I can't imagine. I just know how people need to be nipped and tucked and pushed in and zippered, and that's a human thing.
Right.
5 fingers, 5 toes, and manpower.
I love it. I love it. And so I just want to ask you two more questions, and then I will let you go. And I'm so glad that you were able to be with us today. The next question is, earlier in this episode and in our previous episode, we were talking about facial filters on social media. And I'm only curious, because you are a social media influencer, which one is your favorite filter to use?
Well, first, I'm going to always say presenting mind, body, soul. I feel like in real life, you have to take care of yourself, eat right, drink a lot of water. I'm big on natural skin, because I think the skin says like you're doing something right. But when it gets on a picture,
Your favorite filter?
yes, you want to be able to present the best you can. I like sepia when I'm feeling something very like nostalgic. But then I like the very natural ones that kind of just make the dark features pop and kind of like smooth everything out. I don't like anything that looks like makeup-y or fuzzy or blurry. I try to get things that just kind of smooth out the picture in nature.
I love it. And I want to throw another question here, because I just thought about that. What are your thoughts on people who use the deep fake AI features on their faces? Is that something you find attractive or unattractive? Just answer with one of those two words.
I'm going to be honest. I think that it's unattractive.
Okay. And going to our final question, I end every segment of my podcast reminding people to be their own kind of beautiful. So I want you to finish this sentence in one word. My kind of beautiful is
special.
Oh, I love it. And so are you. Thank you so much, Roman, for being here. I want to thank Roman for his input and perspective on today's discussion about social media and unrealistic beauty standards. for men. I hope you, like me, found it to be incredibly valuable. Which leads me to finishing touches. It is important for men to be aware of the potential negative effects of social media platforms, just as it is for women. Remember, social media is designed to keep you on the app. But as I mentioned in a previous episode, moderation is key. I would argue that people rely on editing photos too much and don't focus on tackling the root cause of their low self-esteem. If you're unhappy with your body, for instance, and are using the app Manly for six-pack abs, you could attempt to come to terms with that and tackle the thinking behind it. Or you can go to the gym, adjust your diet, and materially change it. Sometimes, however, a mental health condition can color your experience. And the most important thing you can do is ask for help. Or get a friend help if they are the one that's struggling. As for AI, it will continue to become more sophisticated. It will also become good enough to style us humans without the use of live people. But keep in mind, Barbra Streisand didn't sing, "People, people who need AI." She sang, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. As humans, we need other humans, and the world needs more meaningful interactions between us, not less. If you have a question, comment, or topic about beauty that you would like to hear the real truth about, email me at thebeautyjawn1@gmail.com. And be sure to rate, review, and subscribe so that you can know immediately when a new episode drops. Well, that's all for this episode, my BUTs. Thank you for listening to The Beauty Jawn. Until next time, I'm Ursula Augustine, reminding you to be your own kind of beautiful, because we were born to be real, not perfect.